and see what happens. Look at that. We're going live. So for those of you who are watching me on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, welcome. And this is really cool. I'm using a platform called Restream, which allows you to go kind of everywhere at once. If you're familiar with AppSumo, it's a great kind of a community and platform that they offer some pretty steep discounts on software. So I actually got it for $49, and it normally I think would have been about $500 a year. So we'll see how this goes. We'll check it out all afterwards. You know, for me, I think one of the biggest challenges. Hey, Rama, how are you? For me, and you can go ahead and however you're watching this, you can actually chat right now. The cool thing about Restream is that it brings all of your chat from all of those different platforms as you're going live, and it pulls them all into one place. So, and that chat will actually show up on the window. See right there. And so you could actually chat right now if you're watching this live, and you can leave a message right there, and it'll show up on the screen, and I'll interact with you. Of course, you folks over in Instagram land, Instagram Live is the only place where it is not included. Awesome. Good. Thank you so much, Rama. It's nice to hear from you. All right, so in this video, what I want to do is I'm going to share my story, and I'll be honest, like this video is a little bit of a stretch for me because I've really kind of felt that it would be really helpful if I shared some parts of my story like I've never shared before. And my story is really how I went from bankrupt in all of my business failures, ended up earning as much as six figures in a month. And so I'd really like to kind of take you on that journey of exactly like what did I do, how did that happen, and hopefully you'll gain some insight as you are on your journey. You might be making six figures a month already. That's great. Then high five. Love to hear your story as well. But so I'll just kind of take you back. So right out of high school, and welcome, by the way, everybody on Twitter. Twitter is absolutely in first place in terms of total number of viewers right now. And so you can actually chat in there. And if somebody could say, if you're watching on Periscope right now, if you could give me like a thumbs up or a hi or something like that, it'll actually show up on the window. And I'd really love to test and see if that's working. So if you're watching this after the fact is recorded, obviously it won't work that way. So awesome. So I grew up in Michigan mostly, and in West Michigan, and in high school, I did okay academically. I will tell you, personality-wise, it was very important for me to the crown of beauty. It was very important for me to fit in. And I think, hey, Carmen S.A. says hi. Thank you so much for testing that. It works. And look, it's on the screen and everything too. All right. So, and by the way, if you have seen Avengers Endgame and you post a spoiler on the screen, I am going to insta-kill you. You better shut your mouth because I'm going to see it in about 5 hours. So be quiet. No talking Avengers Endgame. We'll get into that. All right. So, in high school, I think like a lot of people, like I felt, especially early on, middle school, freshman year, like I worked really, really hard to fit in. I don't know why I was so obsessed with it. Other people, probably didn't have the challenge that I did. As a matter of fact, in high school, I was essentially voted most likely to want to fit in. I don't know, how do I say it? It was called a class. So we had awards in a senior year, and it was a class trendy, which actually was not a good term. I've talked about this before. I really felt like I was quite a poser. Like I was just trying so hard to fit in. Like I wanted to be cool. And so, eventually I joined the United States Navy. I looked at the cost of college and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for that. And I really didn't want to go into debt. And I don't even know that there was many good options back then for student debt. And maybe that was a good thing at the time. I don't know. But I joined the Navy, and I joined the Navy as a journalist. And I went to boot camp, went to Indianapolis for a year, and I learned the basics about storytelling, which I think was really, really helpful. Now, I did video news journalism, and it was kind of funny. I'll tell you this story. So in the Navy, now I'm not going to sing Village People for you, but when you're in school, they pass around to something because they got to figure out where everyone goes after school. So I'm in journalism school for close to a year, and they pass around what are known as dream sheets. And on these dream sheets, they say, well, where would you like to be stationed? And because out of school, we're going to be going all over the planet. And so everyone's putting like exotic locations. Yes, I guess the Navy has a presence in places like Bermuda and the Florida Keys, and there's lots of exotic, fun locations around the world. Well, everyone's putting those kind of locations. And I remember thinking, why are they even asking this? Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I want. And so I thought, well, I'm going to take the humble approach. And so on my dream sheet, I take the piece of paper and I write, I will go wherever Uncle Sam needs me. And I took the humble approach. And it was interesting because about 4 weeks later, they come back in and they're like, okay, well, we're going to tell you guys where you're all getting stationed. And so they go through and they're like, Seaman so-and-so, you're going to Norfolk, which is not probably, I'm sure Norfolk is a lovely place, but I would say in terms of like the hierarchy, being said that you're going to be on a ship pretty much 6 months out of the year, and you're going to be based out of Norfolk is not the highest ranking thing. So we had some people go to Norfolk. We had some people go Middle East, of course. And this was back in just after, it was Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm had kind of come and gone really quickly. And then, so then they got to Seaman Elledge. And of course, like I'm using this voice, like every single person in the Navy has like this really gruff boot camp voice or something like that. I'm sure it was just like a normal voice, but listen, don't ever let, the opportunity to characterize, that's always more fun. Okay. So, Seaman Elledge, for 3 years, you're going to be in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. And everybody else was like, okay, so if he dies, can I take his order? Because that could probably happen tonight if it means, 3 years in Hawaii. So I got really, really lucky. And so I spent 3 years in Hawaii and I did video news. And what that meant is that I would go around with a really big TV camera at the time, edit on these, we had it on these really, really big tapes. And we would put together news stories about the Navy Marine Corps and all the activity in the Hawaiian Islands. And I had a lot of really good friends there. I feel like I kind of, started kind of coming into my own. I gained a lot more confidence. I was really insecure in high school, like everybody. Like I think everybody's insecure in high school. If you are insecure in high school, give me a thumbs up, and that'll let me know I'm not alone there. I wasn't necessarily a good journalist necessarily. I wasn't, I wasn't good at what I did, but I kept doing it. And you'll find that this is going to be a pattern that Ramabama loves Hawaii. Yes, it's been 23, 24 years. I haven't been back yet. Oh my gosh. So 3 years in Hawaii. Toward the end of, you'll like this story, toward the end of my stay in the Hawaiian Islands, it was really fascinating. There was a luau that was happening. It was it was on a military. They had a special offer for military members and their families, and so we were going to do a news story about it. I wasn't invited to cover it, by the way. The guy who outranked me, he got to pick. He got first pick of the stories that he wanted to do, and so he's like, I'm going to do the story on the luau. And that's great, fine. And then last minute, this was on a Friday afternoon, he goes, you know what? Do you want to go do the story? I'm like, yeah, I want to go do the story. And so I go to the luau that night, and I'm running around with this big TV camera, and I see this really cute girl. She's got long, beautiful brown hair. It's curly, and I'm like, wow, she's very, very attractive. Now, I had actually just taken a 6-week dating and relating class because I was still really, really shy about talking to girls. Like I would get in my head and I would just like way overanalyze everything. And then I would end up doing nothing, just paralysis of analysis. Well, because of that class, I had gained the confidence to say, okay, well, here goes nothing. And I talked to her and I don't know what came out of my mouth. It was like gibberish probably. Cause again, I wasn't very good at that sort of thing. But I gave her my business card and I say, love to chat sometime. It had my phone number on it. So flash forward to Sunday, she had actually left me a message with her phone number. I called her back and I was working overnight at a radio station. So Sunday night, I was working at a radio station from like 7 to midnight or something like that. It was a Sunday night. And so I didn't really have a whole lot to do. So I called her and we talked for about almost 5 hours on the phone. And then we went out on Tuesday. We started going out every single night. We spent about 20 days together. And as she's getting on the plane to go back home, again, we're in Hawaii together. So you can imagine, I'm 21, she's 19. I mean, we're just falling crazy in love, like doing like all the fun Hawaiian island stuff. I mean, this is like straight out of a romance novel kind of stuff. And as she's getting, I got to bring her to the airplane and she's going to go back home to Chicago. And I thought, man, if I let her go, I may never see her again. So I asked her to marry me. I said, would you be my wife? I mean, here I am like a 21-year-old kid. And she said, yes. And so I still had 1 year left in the Navy, went to Alaska for a year, and I was stationed in the Aleutian Islands, and I was actually a morning show DJ. That was my job in the Navy, which was really cool, but it was not a fun place to be. Geographically, we were just on this little island in the middle of nowhere. But my wife and I were engaged during that time for that year, and I got out of the Navy, we got married, and we've been married for over 23 years now. So we knew each other for 20 days, proposed to her, and here we are 23 some years later. So, and she's been a great companion for me, and I really am just crazy about her. So anyway, I want to get into my business story because I thank you so much, and life changes for you. I appreciate that. Yeah, she's pretty awesome. So now, part of, wanting to be a good husband, I think, in the United States, there's this concept, you want to be a good provider as well. And so I went to school for family science, which is not necessarily a great undergraduate degree to get if you want to be successful financially. You pretty much have to get a PhD or master's if you want to practice, say, family therapy or something. And the idea is that I was actually going to become a love doctor on the radio. That was my dream. Like, I wanted to be a love doctor on the radio, just like Dr. Drew and Adam from Loveline back in the day I was listening to. And so that didn't happen because as I was studying family science, I got distracted with the internet. And I just became obsessed with designing websites, web pages, which were very simple back then. This is the late 90s. And so it was really interesting because I thought that, in many ways, I don't know where you are faith-wise, but for me, I believe there is a God, and I believe that, I want to like I want to fulfill like my full potential, and I feel like that would honor God. And so I remember getting so excited about internet development. I remember talking with this one guy. He was a retired brain surgeon, very successful, and I said, I got into family, wanting to study family science, family therapy, because I wanted to help people. I felt like that's what God wanted for me. And, he had some really, this is like one of those pivotal moments. And he looks at me and he goes, Josh, I want to tell you something. God, however you believe in what that is, can use you anyway. Like it doesn't matter what your job is, what your role is. If you agree to let God or the universe use you, God and the universe will use you. And, if you feel like open to inspired messages and say, okay, I feel really strongly inspired to do this, and you do that, it doesn't matter what work you're in. And I thought, okay, so I shifted and I got into internet development. And so I did internet development for a couple of companies. And eventually I got to the point where I'm like, I am just not wired to be an employee. I am not a good employee. If you are not a good employee, give me a thumbs up in the comments, or just say, yeah, Josh, I'm not really a great employee. I really wasn't. I don't know why. I felt like I just needed to, I needed to own my own thing. I don't know why. Now I'll tell you that, from that, I left a job and I really didn't have a good plan. Yeah, Zach goes, neither am I. I hear you. So I left my job way too early. Please do not do this. I'm going to start getting into what's going to feel like a comedy of errors now. I made so many dumb mistakes. And, but back then, we didn't have all these amazing podcasts, and we didn't have YouTube where, experts would tell you their story and they would say, look, I screwed up. Don't screw up like I screwed up. So don't do what I'm about to tell you to do, because that was horrible. So I didn't really have a stable income. Like I had a couple of contract jobs as an internet developer, but I thought, I'll find some more. And that was just dumb. Like I had no savings. I actually even had a little bit of a debt. I was leasing a car, which car leases typically aren't really a great financially, not necessarily as the savings angel, which I'll get into. I'm just going to tell you, car leases in the United States, not really a great deal. But I was leasing a new Ford Focus, which was a terrible car. Yes. So anyway, so I do that. I start doing some contract work. I start I kind of didn't do real well at that. I had a mobile DJ business during college, never really got successful at that because I was afraid to network. I was afraid to let people know about what I did. Like remember I was talking about like dating? Like I would just get in my head. I was like an over analyzer. And I don't know if you're an over analyzer, but it just sucks. When you're constantly like thinking and overthinking stuff. Like that was my brain at the time. And so that overanalyzation, that kept me from a lot of good stuff. And so failed at the mobile DJ business, eventually failed at the internet development stuff. That really didn't pan out. Got involved in a small town internet service provider. That didn't work out. So that's business failure number 3. Then I had started what was really a blog before there was such thing as blogs. That didn't work out. Started a small town newspaper. That really didn't work out. And that was stupid because I started going into debt big time to support that thing. So much so that I ended up losing a house to foreclosure. We had to walk away from our house, and I had that black spot on my credit for a good 7 years. Additionally, personal bankruptcy. And that was a black spot on my credit for like a lot. And it sucks. Like it's so painful to go through that, not just because, of my own personal stuff, but I don't want to take my family through that. And so from there, So that was business number 6. The newspaper was business number 6 or 5, I think, because that was pretty much just the blog. And the business number 6 that I started as the newspaper was like, man, I don't think this is a good business. Like I'm racking up debt and I'm not making any money at it because I was afraid to sell. Had I gone out and got more advertisers, I probably could have done okay at it, but I didn't. And so because I let fear get in the way of, my ability to serve and help people. So then we get up to business number 7, and someone had approached me and asked if they could advertise in my newspaper, and it was a network marketing company called Prepaid Legal or Legal Shield. And I thought, well, what's that? And so then I kind of get the 411 on what that is. And I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. I like the concept. I'm going to become a prepaid legal associate. And so I started selling prepaid legal. And I'll tell you that my fear of selling, talk about taking your fear and jumping into the deep end. Like if you've ever been like maybe when you were much younger, like network marketing, look, there are some people that are really successful at it. It's a hard gig, man. If you're not comfortable in selling, and I was not comfortable selling, but it was really good for me because at the time, I had nowhere else to go. I had nothing else to do. Like I had no more income. And so I had started making about $1,000 or so a month with prepaid legal. And eventually in my 8th month, I think made about $3,000 a month. And you know what? That was enough to live on. And so I worked prepaid legal really, really hard for 5 years. We actually got into the profiles of success. I became a silver or gold executive director. And you have to understand, like, this is so not my personality to be able to build something like that. But, and so we made about $60,000 a year as a silver and gold executive director. And, but still it was really unstable. We were living above our means because again, making errors, lots and lots of errors, felt like, oh, well, now that I'm a silver executive director, I need a bigger house. That was a bad mistake. That was a really, really dumb mistake. And so I let my ego make a decision that my mouth made decision, or my mouth is saying stuff that what's the expression? Your body can't cash, right? The expression I'm trying to say? That's exactly what I did. So I got myself in trouble financially again. Had to walk away. We did a short sale this time on a home. This is my 2nd home that I've lost. I mean, we sold it, but we sold it at a loss. And again, that's not good for our credit again. So now we're renting. And so prepaid legal, the writing was kind of on the wall. I actually was in the process, I was about to lose 1 or 2 of my big leaders. And if that happened, my income would go from like $4,000 or $5,000 a month to like 1,000. I mean, it would be that stark if I didn't hit a certain level sales wise. And I knew that would happen if I lost one of my leaders. Well, sure enough, I lost that leader. Now, what I had been doing, however, while I felt like there was some instability with that work in that network marketing company, I had started building my own company. And that my own company was a website, and it was called Savings Angel. And I had read a bunch of books because we had to about look, I'm making so many dumb financial mistakes. I got to figure this out. I need to start making much better decisions. And so what were those decisions? Well, I went through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. I went through I read every single book I could on just making smarter financial decisions. And as we were going through our spending plan, I got to that line item for groceries. And I thought, and I started learning about people that were able to successfully cut their grocery bill in half. And I'm like, how are they able to do that? And so I read all their books and I found out that there's 2 ways you can cut your grocery bill in half. Number 1, you can become a farmer and that'll work. You can actually do that. You grow a big garden and you can grow all your own stuff and you can jar all your own stuff and you can freeze produce and all that stuff. And you can grow enough food inexpensively if you can spend the time, and you could save a lot of money. So that was one option. I'll tell you that was not an option that was not available to me. I had failed in it so many times. Option number 2 is you got to take advantage of every possible discount available to you. And in the United States, again, that comes in the form of sales and coupons. And in sales and coupons. And so I said, well, what would happen? And then what I learned is that you have to time the sale or coupon. And so when something, let's say a dollar coupon comes out for Cheerios, you shouldn't run to the store and use it when the price of Cheerios is $4 a box. Instead, you should wait till the price of Cheerios goes down to $2 a box. And now you used your $1 coupon, and now you're getting Cheerios for $1 a box. And you're saving $3 as opposed to only $1. And of course, if you can get lots of coupons, then you can get lots of boxes of Cheerios for $1 a piece. You're saving 75%. And so if you do that across every item that you buy, frozen produce or whatever it is, that's how you cut your grocery bill in half, or in that case, by 3/4. So you could do that. So we took our grocery bill down to from about $800 a month down to about $300 a month. And I thought, oh my gosh, if other people could figure this out, if I could share this with other people, I could really change some lives. And so we created a membership-based website. So we used a software called Amember at the time, totally old school. The website was really ugly. Like you can look it up in the Wayback Machine, the first version of Savings Angel. Like it was really ugly. I used like a template type thing, and so it was okay. It was just really really ugly. But it worked. And so what happened is I launched this thing, and I'm like, okay, I know that in order for this to succeed, I'm going to have to get visibility. Now, I'm not going to get too much into my media story. I really talked about that in my last video, which you can find on YouTube right now. And so if you go to youtube.com/upmyinfluence, you watch my story all about my whole media journey. But I will say that at the time, we were really, really broke. And when I launched this company, and I didn't even have enough money to pay my utility bill. And so here we are in January, and we're getting notices that, our gas bill is due. And if we don't pay it, it could be shut off. And so I don't know if they really do that or how that works, but it was going to go to collections and it was going to be a bad deal. So I went to a radio station and I made enough money. I did a segment and I made enough money to keep my gas going. And so I lived to fight another day, but I knew that exposure was everything. I just kept doing everything I could. I stepped completely out of my comfort zone, and Zach Mustafa says, hey, I'm eating Cheerios right now. What a coincidence. We started making money with Savings Angel. It wasn't a lot of money, but I was working 12, 16 hours a day, every single day, to get data into, because what we were doing is creating a database that we'd have to update every single week. Bam. Database was wiped completely clean because new sales had come out, and we'd have to come up with all these coupon matches. And so my dear wife would work 12 hours a day on Sundays and Mondays. I was working 12, 16 hours a day, just trying to, doing all my own internet development, trying to create a community, trying to get the word out. Thankfully, I had learned that, you just got to hustle, you just got to network, you just got to let everybody in the world know about what you do, because if you don't have traffic, if you don't have visibility, then you don't have data. And nobody's a fortune teller. So when I launched it, the first version of it was not real good, but I got enough people in, and I started learning what they liked and didn't like. And so I was able to make changes. So when your first version of your business is likely not going to be what what you're doing in 3 to 5 years, it's likely going to be pretty different. Hey, how's it going? But I love me more. That's cute. Our income actually grew pretty consistently. It started off, I think the first month was $700. That was in January or so. Then the next month, I want to say it was $1,100. It went up just a little bit. Then it went up to about $1,800. Then I want to say $3,000. And of course, when we get to that level, I'm like, man, that's enough to pay all my bills now. We were renting a small house in Michigan, and we can now comfortably pay our bills. And then our income went from, because there's no reason for this business, it was a scalable business, and we were charging people $5 a week, and we could help them save $400. Yeah, Zach, you're absolutely right. Listen, I'll just tell you, as a dad and as a husband, it sucks to go through all of that experience over and over and over again. And so I am very, very grateful. I mean, it caused a big strain on my marriage. It really, really did. There was a lot of tough times. It's one of those things, though, when you're an entrepreneur, and it can be feast and famine. And when you get those feasts, it can be pretty addictive. It's really fun. Like, we had some months in prepaid legal where I think we got up to like 7,000-8,000 in one month, and then it didn't last. But it was cool. Like, when that happened, and so it kind of gave us a taste of, man, we should keep on. And I just worked so hard to try to recreate that, and it always seemed so elusive to earn that consistently. But you're right. Very supportive wife. And so, with Savings Angel, it ended up paying off. Like, her support, my work. There was so many sleepless nights, doing everything I could to grow this business. And so eventually our income got up to the $8,000 a month level. I was about a year into it. And then it went up to like 13,000. And then, we started earning some pretty good money, started getting up into like, I'd say maybe the 20,000s. Now I started building a team. So we do pretty good money with Up My Influence right now, but I got a big team, and that's okay. Like, I want to help make their dreams come true, while I build this thing, and together, like, we can all create an amazing lifestyle for ourselves. And that was kind of my dream. But Savings Angel at its peak, we had over 50 employees. We operate, you'll see right now, like, if you go to the website, like, we operate as a blog. So we actually ended up, I'll explain why, we actually ended up having to shut down the membership side of our website. And so now we're starting to earn more and more money. And then I get some media opportunities in Chicago, and it really goes up. And then 2011, extreme couponing hits. And luck is where luck happens at the intersection of preparation and opportunity. We had been prepared. We were, well positioned. We had a pretty decent audience, and then the economy kind of was tanking, and the show Extreme Couponing comes out, and all of a sudden, it was because of that timing, because of the blood, sweat, and tears that I put into it. The right thing happened. And so our income almost overnight, I mean, it was literally that stark. I think we earned maybe $40,000 one month, and it was, I want to say it was like in April, and our income was like $112,000 in one month. And so because we weren't spending money on advertising, everything we do is PR, which is, why what we teach at Up My Influence, it's all about increasing your authority and visibility and your influence. But because of that position, our profit margin, that was a good month. That was our down payment for our house in 1 month's time. Now I will tell you that it rose pretty quick. But then over the next couple years, it just slow, steady death because Americans were just not interested in couponing. And so as a result, they weren't willing to use the information that they were paying us for. And so they just stopped paying us. So we transformed into a blog, and this is about the same time, as we were kind of, I started doing more work helping business owners. And I'm like, that was my dream, is to serve business owners and help them to learn some of the lessons that I learned. And so I started doing, pro bono work, just mentoring workshops in our local startup community. We had moved down to Orlando, Florida, where, I've been on TV here more than 700 times. And so because of that, that really evolved into Up My Influence. And, through Up My Influence, we've been able to help thousands and thousands of business owners to be able to become media celebrities themselves, and to get media coverage, and to get the kind of visibility that we were able to enjoy, and not have to pay quite so much to advertise. It's a really good system if you can have a strong personal brand. And so, hey, Jory Rivera, yeah, welcome over on Instagram. So anyway, so that's kind of how we did it. Again, a lot of my secret sauce is built into the video that I just did talking about my media climb, because that's how I did it. I built up my authority and visibility through getting in the media. Now, you have an authority score right now, and the authority is something that goes with you. Now, because I had that success with Savings Angel, I'll be honest, like up my influence, starting and growing that business has been a lot easier because I already, from Berlin, how are you? Hey, welcome. Because I already had that success, because I've already had, 7-figure years, I have more credibility going into this because I've been in the media, at the time when I launched Up My Influence, about 1,500 times or so. Like I had authority getting into this. So that's the nice thing about having authority is if you have high authority, high personal authority, pretty much everything you do in business is going to be a lot easier. And so so what I really want you to do, if you haven't done this already, is go and take our free quiz at Up My Influence. You go to upmyinfluence.com/quiz. Take your free authority quiz. I'm going to give you your score. And your score is going to be, on a score of I'm going to give you your percentage score. There's 40 indicators of authority. I just want you to go through and tick, 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 tick all the ones that you have. And at the end of it, you're going to click submit. And then I'm going to show a video. I recorded a bunch of videos. I'm going to show you a video based on what your score is. And I'm going to give you advice on what to do. So please take that. You deserve to know what your authority score is right now so that you can have clarity on what you do moving forward. See, I really enjoyed my rise. It was really, really fun being able to give my wife a check for $20,000 and say, this is just profit. I mean, we don't really have anything we need it for. And so I want you to have that same experience. I want you to give your loved one a check for $20,000. I want you to get celebrated on social media when you say, oh my gosh, guys, I just got selected to be, on a national news program, or I just got quoted, or I just got invited to speak, Tony Robbins' organization invited me to teach his business mastery group. I want you to be able to share those same experiences. That's why I'm on the earth right now. I believe that that's why I had my experiences. I believe that that's why it's so important for me to help other people. With Savings Angel, I really developed this consumer advocate and this advocate persona. And I want the same thing for you because I see a lot of business owners that struggle. Hey, Glenn Sefton, how are you? Glenn, SFTN. And so I want that same experience for you. I mean, if you've toyed with the idea of starting a business, I want you to realize that authority is the most valuable thing that you can build. Because when you have strong authority, Zach, yet true, that personal brand really makes life easier. It's like having strong inner core strength, like you've got that muscle mass, or you've got just general cardiovascular health. You can go out and run, bike, ski, arm wrestle, lift weights, everything's going to be easier for you. When you have authority in what you do, when you're respected, when you have people that are yeah, Josh knows a little thing about, he knows some stuff about saving money. You're just going to get opportunities that other people are not going to be able to get. And it all boils down to your authority. Guys, it's a more valuable commodity than it's ever been, knowing what your authority is. And in fact, consumers demand it. There's been some trends over the past few years. Consumers are so protective. Consumers are so against being sold to. And if you're in business for yourself and your idea is that eventually you're going to try to sell something to that audience, man, you better have earned their know, like, and trust, and you better have their respect. And the best way to do that is by building up your indicators of authority, because that's how we decide whether someone deserves our time or not. Is we say, okay, well, let's take a look at their social media. Oh, okay, they have some social proof. Oh, they've got media logos on the front of their site. Oh, wow, that their website's professional. Oh, wow, it looks like they've had some success. That's going to keep people's attention when they're learning about you for the first time. And so at Up My Influence, that's all we do. We are your influence and authority department, and we make that happen for you. But take that free quiz. You're going to really appreciate the video on the other side of it, depending on what your score is. And I want you to know that even if you have a low authority score, you've got nothing, that's okay. I wish that I had, hey, go Navy. I wish that I had a mentor. I had somebody that would have taught me this stuff early in my business career. It would have made things a lot easier. So I know that the work that I'm doing is helping people recover or create immunity from business stagnation, which sucks. I don't want to see people go out of business. I definitely don't want people to incur personal debt as a result of trying to make their business successful. And I see a lot of people doing that. There are a lot of other things that you could do to protect yourself from that. And it would be my honor if I could help you do that. So with that, have an amazing weekend. Avengers Endgame. I will be there in 4 hours and 15 minutes. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. And so I don't know if you're seeing Endgame this weekend. If you're not, I would say stay off the internet. And have an amazing weekend. Guys, thank you so much for letting me tell my full story. And hopefully you understand that, if you see, because sometimes people will say, oh, well, good for Josh. He's a natural at being in front of the camera. You have to, like I'm not. Oh, good for Josh. He's just always been successful. Nope. I have failed so miserably in business. So at least now you know the backstory. And you know what? Every person you see that has they're living like the gangsta life, or they're hustling, blah, blah, blah. And they're showing you that they're sitting on the beaches and they got these sports cars, exotic cars behind them, and they flew in on their private jet. Man, that's whatever, man. That's their branding or whatever. But everybody had to pay their dues. Everybody pays their dues. Everybody starts with the imposter syndrome. Everybody sucks at the beginning. Everybody, their first video they do, the first podcast they do, the first blog article they do, everything sucks at the beginning. And that's okay. You have to keep on sucking, and eventually you get better and better and better at it. So hopefully this has been inspiring to you. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Zach, Glenn, Chris, Cameron, all the Instagram people, Jory, Mats, Rama, thank you so much for joining, and all the other people that have chimed in. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I appreciate you. Take care.